I know the video was very long, but let me tell you something. I did 365 days straight worth of really, really good budgeting, so it is what it is. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, my name is KeAmber Vaughn, and some of you may know me as CoachKe. I am a financial wellness expert not because of book based certifications, but because of real life experiences and, more importantly, my own personal results. I eliminated $26,073.27 in debt in just 573 days to become 100% debt free. Oh, and did I mention I saved over $17,000 in that same time frame? Oh, yeah, and my credit score is over at 800. Welcome to my channel where we talk about everything finance. I hope you enjoy the
What's up, you
content.
guys? It's KeAmber Vaughn, aka CoachKe, coming back to you with another video. If you are new to my channel, welcome. And if you're not new, welcome back. Be sure to hit the subscribe button. I'm not sure which side it is on. And tap the bell so that you are notified of every new video that I post. So as you guys can tell by the title of this video, I'm excited because I have officially hit my 1-year budgeting anniversary. Give me a hand clap. Come on, because this is not the easiest journey, okay? Listen. So I wanted to make this video so that I can give you the pros, the cons, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything in between when it comes to budgeting. So just as a refresher, or maybe for some of you guys, this is your first time seeing me, I wanted to give you guys just a very brief history of my debt freedom and budgeting journey. I started my debt freedom journey in November of 2016. At the time, I was not budgeting. I did something that I call the income allocation strategy. It came from my own brain. It's nothing like what is out there on the market, I can promise you. But at that time, that strategy allowed me to not have to budget, and even moving forward, I never had to budget. But budgeting was always something that I was kind of interested in. Originally, I didn't start budgeting when I started my debt freedom journey and my income allocation strategy or method because it wasn't really needed. I just always felt like, you know what, I'm not really a big spender anyway, so what really is the purpose? Like, isn't this just a waste of time? I don't really spend my money on unnecessary things. But that really couldn't be furthest from the truth. I can say that budgeting did not help me to like curb bad spending habits or anything like that because, again, I didn't have them. But there are some pros and cons to budgeting, and I'm going to go ahead and go through all of that. So during this 1 year, my first year of budgeting, I saved $10,337.84, and then I paid off $11,742.54 in debt, and that debt payoff basically happened from October of 2017 until May of 2018, because May of 2018 is when I became 100% debt free. So that 11,700 number basically happened in a matter of 7-8 months per se. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into this video. So when I first started budgeting, I will link my video, my very first budgeting video from October of 2017 up in the iCards. But basically, I had just bought my very first planner. It wasn't even a budgeting planner, okay? And it was just a typical planner. I had did my monthly spread and all of that good stuff. The very following month is when I had basically printed out the protege for my current budgeting planner that I sell. And so at the time, I just printed like 3 months worth, I think. And that is when I actually started to track every single expense. And then fast forward, I now do paycheck to paycheck budgeting, which you guys can see in my monthly budget with me videos. So the very first pro that I would say is that with budgeting, you always know where your money is going, especially if you track every single expense, which I think is very important. It's important for you to kind of know what your spending habits are, maybe where you're overspending, where you're underspending, and all of that good stuff. And I just really feel like without budgeting, you don't really know that. Like, I do have one friend who kind of knows, like, he'll say, I don't know where all my money goes, but he also knows that he doesn't spend frivolously, and he knows that most of his money goes to food. He goes to the grocery store every single day. He's one of those people that don't really know what he wants to eat every day. I think it's crazy, okay, and I told him I could never do that, but because he's not like buying things in bulk or maybe, you know, cooking something that can last him for the whole week, he tends to overspend in the food category. And when he's not, you know, of course, cooking at home, he's eating out at restaurants. But outside of like non-typical people like that who like spend money on a bunch of different stuff, you won't really know where you're over and underspending if you are not budgeting. So the second pro I would say is that you pretty much kind of know what to expect financially. So unless something drastic happens, let's say you lose your job, you get laid off, or maybe you got sick so you couldn't work for an extended period of time. Outside of that, when things happen like income wise that are supposed to happen, and your fixed expenses kind of stay around the same amount and your variable expenses kind of stay around the same amount, you pretty much know what to expect financially. You know how much money you have left over after your fixed expenses to be able to categorize what you want your variable expenses to come to be. You know that after you have your income, you take out of your income your fixed expenses and your projected variable expenses. You know how much money you have left over for you to be able to save and put towards debt as well. If you are not budgeting, that's kind of like you may not know, unless maybe you go into your bank statements and you see, okay, I have this amount in deposits every single month, this amount in transactions every single month. So I kind of know like whether I'm cash flow negative or cash flow positive. And if I am cash flow positive, how much I do have. I know my banking app always tells me that I spend on average like $2,300 less than what I earn every single month. So if you have something like that, maybe, but I think it is very important for you to get kind of like a detailed view. So the first kind, because I want to throw them in so that you're not like, oh, I'm going to watch all the pros and then not watch the cons. No, no, no. We're going to insert these cons at variable places and various places. So the first kind I would say is actually a pro for me, but I know it can be a con for some people, is that you do, in order for you to budget properly and budget as efficiently and effectively as possible, you do need to track every single expense. Now, for somebody like me that's really like meticulous, I am over analytical, I'm very OCD, okay? If somebody is not like me, they may think like, who wants to sit there and budget and like write down every single thing that they spend money on? Oh my gosh, it was just a 50 cents candy bar. Why are you writing that down? Like, I'm that person. Okay. And I'm that person that will not use cash because I cannot track it. So if I have to use my debit card for a 75-cent transaction, guess what? I'm going to do it. Okay. But not everybody is like that. Now, I do have a lot of friends, like practically all of my friends don't budget. I do have a couple that are just kind of getting into budgeting or whatever. But, you know, when they come to me like, oh, I don't know where my money is going, I'm like, well, are you tracking your expenses? No. Who wants to spend time doing that? And I feel like for most people who do overspend or don't know where their money is going, I think they would spend a lot less money if they tracked every single expense. Because I can tell you guys, like, there are some times where I'm out at the store, I want something, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to have to go home, pull this receipt out, pull my budget planner out, get my pen, see which color pen goes with this particular categorized transaction, write it all in, subtract it. Like, I don't want to do all that. So you know what? I'm just going to pass on whatever this item is. I literally do that. Or it'll be something where like Thursday, I know for sure I'm spending money. So you know what? Instead of me spending money on Monday, I'm just going to wait and do everything on Thursday so that I can do everything on Thursday and I have to track everything in between. So yeah, that could be a con depending on the type of person that you are. So the next pro would be that with budgeting, you always know exactly how much money, and I can't say exactly, approximately how much money you have to spend. When you take your income and you subtract your fixed expenses, you pretty much primarily always know how much money you'll end up having left over, unless again you get sick, you don't work, whatever, but you always know how much money you have left over to spend. And I think that that's very important. A lot of people don't even know if they're cash flow negative or cash flow positive. They can't figure out, okay, why am I always having to use my credit card at the end of the month? Well, if you're somebody who's not budgeting at the beginning of the month, maybe you don't even realize that you don't even earn enough income to pay for all of your bills and all of your variable expenses as well. So that is something that's very, very, very important, that budgeting definitely helps. And another pro I would say is that budgeting can help you to plan for big expenses. Now, of course, not necessarily unexpected expenses. Well, budgeting can help with that, especially if you add in sinking funds that you are contributing to on a monthly or bi-monthly basis. But I'll give you a good example. My parents' basketball hoop fell into my car and I knew I had a $500 deductible. Now, this happened like 18 months ago and I still ain't got the car fixed. I got the money to do it. I guess maybe it's just not a priority now. I don't know. But for a while, I was just like, okay, it can't fit into this budget. All right, well, this month it can't fit in. And I would just really start asking myself, like, $500 to fix my car or $500 towards debt? $500 to fix my car or $500 for savings for a rainy day? That's just the way that I think. But let's say that you know that every single year you have to pay property taxes on your car, and let's say that it's $600 or $400. You know that that expense is coming every single month. So if you take that amount and you divide it by 12, you can make sure that you fit that smaller amount of maybe $50 a month into your budget so that you can plan ahead for that big expense that comes every single year. Now, one con, because again, every big expense is not something that is expected, is that depending on your budgeting type, unexpected expenses can't really be budgeted for, especially if you're somebody who uses an every dollar budget, and at the end of every single budget, every single month, every single dollar is accounted for. Maybe you're not putting a lot of money into savings because you're primarily focused on paying off debt. Maybe you stick with the $1,000 mini emergency fund. That's something that I personally didn't do for those of you guys who are new, but maybe you're somebody who's kind of sticking with that particular budgeting plan to a T. And so when unexpected things happen, no matter how great your budgeting was for however long you've been budgeting, because of the type of budget that you're on, sometimes unexpected expenses can just like not even be accounted for. So that can be a con to budgeting depending on your budgeting type. So another pro, and I feel like this is probably like the biggest pro ever, is that budgeting allows you to have control over your money. Okay, and this is really important. Again, like, I'm really meticulous and a little OCD, and I'm very, like, I guess I can say I'm a control freak. I know I can't control every single part of my life, but I know that money is a part of my life that I can control. I can control how much money I spend, you know. I can control whether I go out to eat every single weekend. Those are things that I can control. I can control how much money I'm spending on groceries. I can control all of that. I can even control my income. Okay, but if I'm not budgeting, that's not something that I'm able to control. Now, unless you have really good spending habits like I do. So I was able to control my money even before I started budgeting because I already had control over the mindset part of money and budgeting. But not everybody's like that. In actuality, the majority of people are not mentally there to be able to control their money without budgeting. So I do believe that that is like the biggest pro ever. Like, if you are somebody who's wanting to gain control over your finances, over your money, and like give yourself a better financial future, you have to start budgeting. Like, I promise you, it's like a need. Like, you have to do it. So another thing budgeting did was it helped me to stay focused on my debt goals, like my debt payoff goals, and also my savings goals, and really even, again, my spending goals, even though I didn't have spending problems. When you are budgeting, and you can like literally sit down and analyze your numbers, know exactly where things are going. You can create goals that are what we call SMART goals. But it's really important that you have financial goals, but it's very hard for you to stay on target with your goals when you are not budgeting. To me, trying to attain financial goals without budgeting is basically like me blindfolding you at a gun range, spinning you around 20 times and putting the gun in your hand and telling you to hit the target. You're probably going to hit something, but it's probably not going to be the target. And I feel like when you're not budgeting, that's kind of what you're doing when it comes to your financial goals. You can sit there and say, oh, my goal is to save $5,000, but how exactly are you going to do it? You have to have a plan. And for most financial goals, your best plan, it's just the budget. So the next pro that I would say when it comes to budgeting kind of ties into some of the other ones, but it helps you to keep everything organized. Keeping your fixed expenses in one place and your variable expenses in one place and your spending in one place. I think that the more organized you are with your finances, kind of the better off that you are. When you're very disorganized and you're just spending money all willy-nilly, like, hey, the guys want to go out and I want to go have drinks, and you're not really paying attention to what you're spending money on, and because you're not paying attention and you're not tracking your spending, nothing is organized. It's just like you just kind of swipe away. That is when you lose control of your money and you lose control of your finances, and it's very difficult for you to save money and pay off debt and all of that good stuff. So budgeting definitely helps you with that. So my last pro when it comes to budgeting, and I still have one con that is left, the last pro would definitely be that you are able to kind of see problems, like financial problems, ahead of time. Especially when you're budgeting like month to month and you are not somebody who's doing an every dollar budget. Like you're keeping a large buffer in your checking account, you're saving a large amount of money, like past the $1,000 standard. I think that it definitely helps you to see things ahead of time and figure out kind of like where things are going to be. Like one particular month, I believe it was last month, maybe, was it September? I think it was September. I had projected to have a low income month, right? Because I kind of looked at all my different income sources. I started throwing income sources out in the trash because I no longer wanted those income sources. At the time, I thought that I lost my job, which that's going to have to be a story time and everything. And so at that particular time, I was able to see like, okay, this is something that is coming up. How do I plan for this? Oh, I need to reduce my expenses in this area, reduce my expenses in this area. I might have to take out money from my sinking funds. These are things that I wouldn't really be able to project to happen if I was not budgeting. And so budgeting played a large part in that, not really being a low income month to begin with, but also me being able to control my spending during that projected low income month. And then my last con would be that budgeting can definitely be very time consuming. Very time consuming, especially if you're like a YouTuber that's doing budgeting, because you got to record everything. But even outside of that, it can be very time consuming. You know, sitting down at the end of the month to do your monthly layout for the next month, even if you're not using stickers, you know, if you use stickers, that makes it even more time consuming. But just writing down every single, you know, fixed expense, putting it in a monthly spread. Maybe you have another part of your planner that you're writing it down in, you know, tracking every single expense. It can be very time consuming, but I can tell you that it's definitely worth the time that you spend to do it. Again, I can't say that budgeting has helped me when it comes to curbing my spending habits whatsoever, because I don't have bad spending habits, but I can say that I really enjoy budgeting, not just for myself, but I also enjoy budgeting for you guys. I know that it's like people at work, when I'm watching budgeting videos, it's just like, oh my gosh, like how many of those are you going to watch? Like it's the same thing over and over. But I think it's really cool to see different people's income, seeing how maybe their spending habits are a lot different because maybe they live in a larger city and you live in a rural area. You know, I just think that it's very interesting to see different people's perspectives when it comes to finances, and what is important to them might not be important to me, or what's important to me might not be important to them. I just think it's really cool, but again, it can be very time consuming. But the one thing that I want you to take away from this video is that budgeting will not ever keep you from making bad financial decisions, okay? It doesn't matter how good your budgeting is. If you do not change your mentality when it comes to money, how you look at money, how you process money in your brain, how you look at finances, you know, how much confidence you have in yourself to reach your financial goals, you will not do very well with money. Period. I do watch some people on YouTube, and it's not to bash them or anything, but they aren't making a lot of progress because for them, it's still a mental thing. They haven't changed the mental. They still do their budgeting on a monthly basis. They still do check-ins either every week or every 2 weeks. And guess what? They're kind of in the same place when it comes to their debt. They aren't saving a lot of money because they haven't changed their mentality. Sometimes you have to make sacrifices. Did I sacrifice a lot? I would probably say no, because I didn't have to keep myself from traveling and stuff like that to still be able to afford to put on average over $1,000 a month towards my debt and over $1,000 a month towards savings. I didn't have to sacrifice for that, but I also had a pretty decent income. I'm not going to say it was very high. Sometimes it was really low. I think it averaged out to being pretty average. The majority of the time I was living on my, I was living on my own this whole time. Yeah, I was living on my own this whole time in the numbers that I gave you. So I had my own bills and stuff like that, but I made things work because mentally for me, I didn't have to put off buying $200 worth of clothes that I didn't really need in order to reach or meet the goals that I had. But if you do not change your mentality, budgeting will not help you. You can track every single expense, but if you don't know how to stop yourself from doing certain things, all you're going to do is still have a whole list of expenses that you still have to track, and you'll still be over budget. You'll still be using your credit cards and stuff like that. So if you're somebody who's struggling with your budget, first start with your mentality. See if that is something that you are going to need to change. You have to make small sacrifices now in order for you to have the big results and the big gains that you are looking for in the future. And pretty soon, actually next month, you guys are going to get a video from me where it's going to be debt free now what? Talking about my first 6 months being debt free, have things changed, how have things changed, and all of that good stuff. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I know the video was very long, but let me tell you something. I did 365 days straight worth of really, really good budgeting, so it is what it is. No, I'm just kidding. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. But other than that, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.